Welcome to episode double one, episode 11. And for the first time ever, I think 718 Sports will be talking about basketball.
Solely NBA.
Yeah,
Solely
only
NBA.
NBA basketball. We've already talked about college ball a lot, but NBA, we are huge basketball guys. I say baseball is my primary focus, but of course, you are a huge Pistons fan, and I'm a huge Brooklyn Nets fan, which not really the best to be in 2024, but
Yeah. We've had
we've had
rough
our
years.
time. I had my, 1 year stint with Kevin Durant, and you had your thing back
I
in
had
the
Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond.
and zero playoff wins. Um, and
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
but there's a lot going on. The plan is officially set. We know the teams that are going to be in the playoffs at this point, and I sort of count the play in to be the playoffs. In my opinion, I'd like they're still playing an extra game. Obviously, you have to play in to get to the 7-8, whatever. But to me, it's a big setup we got here.
Well,
And
to start off, I want to ask you, do you like the playing concept? I'm a huge fan of it, honestly. So I just want to hear your opinion on it. I love the playing concept.
I I don't really. I think it makes it interesting between the mid-team tiers. Like Miami and Atlanta have played each other a couple times, and a team that could be like a barely sneaking in team could play the 8 seed and actually win against the 1 seed. But to me, there's only one team really that I would feel comfortable with in the plan that could actually win the championship, and that's the Miami Heat. That's the only example of it ever working. So it's like, all right, sure, it's going to be Chicago maybe versus Philly, in the 8-9 game to figure out who's going to be the 8 seed. And it's going to be, the winner of that plays the Celtics in the first round. So it's like, if Philadelphia ends up as the 8 seed, it's like, wow, oh my God, what a game between Philly and Chicago, for example. But yeah.
Sorry, you cut out there.
You lost me? Hold on. Oh. 7
This
scores.
is the problem of filming a podcast in college, guys.
Yeah.
It's the technical difficulties.
But we figured it out. We figured it
We're all
out.
good.
We're all
Yeah,
good.
I hear you.
All right. Back to what we were saying. Uh, but again, I think is an interesting teams. Like a few teams could really sneak in there. So I think Atlanta is one of those teams that could, play the Bulls and maybe make something happen. But I don't know. The West, I think, is more interesting because they're so tight. Where the East, 26 games separates the 10 seeded Hawks and the Boston Celtics, but only 11
Mhm.
and a half games separate the 10th place Golden State Warriors and the first place Denver Nuggets. So it's a lot more clear in the East, I feel like, of who's the real like powerhouse team. Whereas the West, I feel like a 6, 7 seed could even end up in the NBA Finals if we're really going crazy.
So let's chop it right in. Let's start with the Western Conference first, just because I feel like there's a lot more. Like I'm looking at the standings right now. I mean, the Nuggets are at one, then the Timberwolves and the Thunder, Clippers, Mavericks, Suns, Pelicans, then it's Lakers, Kings, Warriors, Rockets for the hypothetical playing teams. And I mean,
No, Rockets are out.
Rockets are officially done.
Yeah, Rockets officially done today.
So wow, so it's just Warriors and Kings then fighting for that playoff spot. So I mean, looking at this right now, I'm gonna say out of the top eight seeds, I think only two, maybe three can really compete for a title, in my opinion. Um, I'll name those teams, then you can hop in. I think the real teams that are competing are the Nuggets, the Clippers, and the Suns. I think those teams have a really good mix of young talent and playoff depth, or playoff experience and depth in the roster. I still don't like. I'll go into it more, but I still don't feel like a lot of the teams in the West have a lot of real playoff experience. That's going to really hinder them this playoff. So, what do you think about the
Yeah,
West?
I mean, I'm gonna go even crazier and say I think these are the teams that realistically I think could win the NBA championship. The Nuggets, the Clippers, the Mavericks, the Suns, the Lakers, and the Warriors. All those 6 teams, I think have. I think I'm sneaking the Pelicans in there too. I think when Zion's on and the Pelicans are good, they can be really good. I'm just saying, I think the Pelicans have a legitimate shot at making a little bit of a sneaky run here. That being said, though, I think the Warriors even have that chance. Everyone's like, "Oh no, not the Warriors." They still got Steph Curry in their team. They still got Chris Paul. Obviously not playing to the best of their ability, but at the end of the day, this is a team that really knows they know how to win championships. They know how to lock in when they need to. They know how to play under high pressure and high leverage situations. The age is getting to me a little bit, but again, it's like the balance between the age and, what they can actually do with themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna agree with you. The age is a little bit concerning me. Looking at the top three seeds in the West, two of those teams are fueled by young talent in the Timberwolves and the Thunder. And I mean, you're right. They do have Steph Curry. They still do have Klay Thompson, who's been struggling a little bit. I did not like the CP3 trade this offseason. I think that's really like shown throughout the year. Like they lost. Everyone's gonna give you Jordan Poole slander. I loved him at Michigan. I loved him in the NBA. But Chris Paul is not a scorer like Jordan Poole is. Yes, Jordan Poole has all these memes about him. There's no baddies in DC. I heard there are, but I don't see any baddies in DC. But Chris Paul is not a scorer. I mean, yes, they have the playoff experience. Yes, they have the depth and roster, but I don't think this team is talented enough to beat the rest of the West. Like looking at the nine seed, the Kings are disgusting. They're maybe under the radar, but Sabonis and Fox are still some of the best players in the league. That team is really good. Um, I mean, they might be playing the Lakers in the plan. The Lakers, I'm also not a big Laker guy, but AD, Austin Reeves, Buddy
Nine out of
Hield's
their
in that
ten,
team.
nine out of their last 10 games is a win. Like,
Yeah.
they're
And then
not
you have
going.
LeBron. Like I really don't feel confident in
Exactly.
this
You got
Warriors team.
LeBron. Exactly.
Yeah. But I also don't feel confident in that Pelicans team either. Going up against teams like the Clippers, who have their big three, the Thunder, who I don't think are going to win a championship. That Thunder team is really good, and they're maybe a year or so away. They're really, really good. Timberwolves are really, really good. You're not scoring any points on them. Is Cat back yet? Or am I wrong? Is Cat
Working
back?
there. He's working there.
Yeah, so he's gonna be back probably during the playoffs. Anthony Edwards is probably a top five player in the NBA, in my opinion. He's the future of like the entire NBA. So I don't feel confident in the Pelicans. And then, I mean, you want to go out hop in next, and I'll talk about the Suns later. But you want to hop in?
What necessarily does? So, yeah, I think the West is an interesting place. Three teams are already confirmed playoff teams. I really like seeing the Thunder back here. The long, not really long, but their rebuild, I think, was a lot shorter than many anticipated. Once they
Oh,
got,
it was like a year or so. It wasn't
yeah,
even that long. It was Paul George got traded for Shea, and then Shea played with CP3, and then CP3 got traded. And then there was that year where CP3 was on the Suns. Then there was last year where they had Josh Giddey, Shea, and they started building up. And so it's like 3 years of rebuild.
yeah, and
And
now
then now they're like one
I
of the
still
best
think
teams
they're
in
a
the
year
league.
out. I think what you're saying, I still think they're a year out. I think even the Timberwolves are still a year out, in my opinion, too. The Nuggets, obviously, they've won last year. They could definitely win this year. Um, I really like Dallas. I think Luca, kind of showed us in his career that he can take a team to the finals. And they just, got rung up with
In his career, he's never been in the finals before.
I still think he got it in him. He almost got it there twice. And he is a dog when it comes to the playoffs, man. I really trust Luka Doncic in these high leverage situations.
Okay, let me ask you a question then. I love Luca too. I'm a big Luca guy. I really like that adding Kyrie because he's been
Definitely.
amazing for them. But do you think that Luca and Kyrie are better than Luca and Porzingis?
Yes, much better. Much better. Way so much better than Porzingis and Luka. Are you kidding me?
I really like Porzingis. I think Porzingis is great. I don't know.
What's
I
better? Okay,
love
wait,
it
wait,
when
wait,
there's
wait, 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 wait. So what's better? Like Kyrie Irving or Kristaps Porzingis as your number two?
well,
Kyrie
obviously
Irving.
Kyrie,
So
but
what's the question
they
there?
have Dwight Powell. I mean, as looking at the team, I love Kyrie. I love Luca. A team like what's it called? A team like the Bucks right now. We'll talk about them later, but a team like the Bucks
Well, the
that
Bucks
has
have a lot
Dame
to be
and
talked about.
Giannis. But Dame's the guy taking that last shot for you. It's not Giannis, even though it should. It's just Dame is the better shooter. Dame's the guy who trusts the ball
Right.
in the clutch time. I don't know if I like. Of course, you like more guys who can shoot the ball in clutch time, but I just don't like Kyrie. Is like I like Kyrie as a Maverick. I think they might go on a run this year. I agree. They could. They have championship. Their ceiling is a championship, and their floor is a first round exit. Um, but I thought Porzingis and even Christian Wood, they brought really good big man play. The big man right now is Dwight Powell. They don't really have a big like that. Do they have Grant Williams? No, he's on
Nope.
Charlotte now. So they didn't really have much in like the depth department on that team. They don't have a lot of young talent. It's just Luca and Kyrie, which I like, but
And
that's not
Tim
gonna win you a
Hardaway Jr.
championship. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a Michigan guy, but he's not everything. He's not going to championship. I want to move on real quickly. Talk about the Suns because the
Mhm.
Suns are a team like that. The Suns have their big three who I really really like. Devin Booker's an amazing player. Kevin Durant, Hall of Famer, first ballot. Bradley Beal's an amazing scorer. But that's another team where it's like I
Outside
don't
of
know.
three guys, it's like kind of
Yeah, I mean,
basic player.
Bol Bol's had a great season. Bol
Yeah,
Bol's had a great
yeah.
season. They've had good depth. Grayson Allen has been phenomenal. He's been like lights out. I don't know how Grayson Allen was let go
They
from.
still
I
have
think he was a
you.
Buck.
They still have you. You still got Nurkic. You got Royce O'Neal,
Oh
Isaiah.
my God, Jurkic is on. Oh, jeez, like
Eric Gordon's on that team. Damian
that
Lee.
team is so good. In fact, that team has only
He's
won
changed the whole
46
thing.
games. Is
Yeah,
like it doesn't make sense.
yeah.
So
That's not at
I
all.
don't know. They're another team where it's like they have a ceiling
They
of
have
a
Frank Vogel as
championship
their
and
head
first round
coach.
exit.
Yeah,
Exactly. That team is disgusting, but they're how many games above there that they're one game above the Pelicans. That shows what type of team this is. Like
underperforming is
the
what it
team
is.
should be exactly underperforming,
Yeah.
but they don't have a guy like Jimmy Butler or LeBron who turns it on in the playoffs. Bulk and KD are very good players in general. They don't have and yeah, Bradley Beal's never had that playoff experience. So I mean, I'm not a big Suns guy either. I'm hating on a lot of teams, but I just don't have faith. I don't trust them.
I don't really trust him either, man. And it's just there's a lot going on with the Suns, and I feel like they have the talent. I would like earlier this year, I was thinking they could be a 1, 2, 3 seed team. I was not really expecting to have the Timberwolves or the Thunder take the jump that they did. I was kind of expecting to see the Suns or the Dallas Mavericks there with the amount of
Mm,
spending and the amount of trading and signings they've been doing. Um, it shows that sometimes you have to rebuild your teams and you have to rebuild them stronger. And maybe with
yeah,
it's crazy to think about, but I think the Nets, Suns, Mikal Bridges trade for Kevin Durant.
that was amazing. It's an amazing trade.
Amazing trade for the Nets. Got rid of
Hmm.
KD, got rid of that, toxic atmosphere. And, the worse the Suns do, better for the Nets. And the Nets obviously haven't been doing that well, but both teams have interestingly take a downturn since then because the Nets need a superstar like KD and the Suns need a defensive duo like Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges. So
They'll
it's
sneak guys who can play every single game, like
yeah,
Mikal Bridges.
exactly. It's like funny,
Yeah.
both teams have what they just traded away what they ultimately ended up needing in the future.
Hmm. And continuing that Nets trade of trading away their star piece, moving on to the big three and the Clippers, what do you see in them?
I like the big three in the Clippers. I think Kawhi Leonard is a dog when he's in the playoffs. I mean, maybe not in the past 2 or 3 years, but I mean, you remember your Raptors. You played some Raptors basketball. You've seen it all. You've seen Kawhi Leonard, hit the big shots when he needs to. Um, that being said, though, hasn't been that strong in the past few years. Dealing with the injuries a lot. Paul George, another one of those guys where I mean, this is a team full of playoff chokers, right? Well, think about no, think about it for a second. Paul George, no chip. James Harden, no chip. Russell Westbrook, no chip. Sure, Kawhi Leonard did it once, but other than that, you can't only have
He's
one guy
done it more than once. You know that, right?
twice. My fault.
I,
Maybe three
yeah,
times. I think 2 or 3
I think
times.
it's a three time. I honestly don't know. He went with the Spurs a couple times, but I think what you're saying is the exact reason why this team could win a championship. I think this is the only year that I will ever say the Clippers can win a championship because they finally have Kawhi and Paul George healthy and healthy enough to compete in the playoffs. Harden was a great trade for them because his new style of basketball is really fitting in well. The pass first mentality, but a guy who can still drop a three when you need him to is a big deal. They still have Terrence Mann. They still have Zubac. Like the team is good. Compared to other teams, it's not really good. But this team is very solid and they're gonna compete for a title. And I mean, I think the exact reason what you're saying of Russ isn't like Russ isn't have a ring, KD, not KD, PG, Harden, Kawhi, like those guys don't have a ring. So they're gonna play so much harder in a West that's so up in the air and that anyone can win. They're gonna give you everything they have. And this is the year. This is honestly the year where they can win it all or sell the team. That's just really what it is.
I think if they don't win this year or maybe even next year, it's going to be a huge failure for the Clippers. If they walk away this year,
Yeah.
they win a chip, and they after that they fall off, I think it'll be worth it. But this is the year they have to do it. It gets a little dicey in the future.
Yeah, they
So,
really their best draft pick in the last couple of years has been Shea, and he's not even on
right,
their team anymore.
right, exactly. Anyway, I think it's time to move on to the not the West, but the best. The East Coast to the Eastern
Okay.
Conference. This is my sweet spot as a Brooklyn Nets fan. I
Then
like
talk about the Nets first, because the Nets are out already. So let's talk about the
uh,
Nets and that play-in race there.
I think the Nets don't deserve to be talked about in today's episode. I think that
Wow. It's like
they're
that.
not much of a joke. Um,
Hmm.
as a Brooklyn Nets fan, it hurts, but Mikal Bridges cannot lead a team. The team has no direction. The management has no idea what they're doing. Um, this was a team that we were told that's going to be at least somewhat competitive. Not at all. There was no chemistry. Let's just fire another one of our coaches. It seemed like a jumbled mess, and it's weird because they have good players on their roster. They're like again, Cam Johnson, good player. Mikal Bridges is a great player. Nick Claxton is one of the most dominant big men in the league, and yet they still like can't even make it to the 9-10 seed. Like, can't even make it to the plan. Not even close to the plan. 7 games out of a plan. Like, can't do that. Can't do that at all.
Yeah.
So
So as we talk about the Nets real quick, I do have a question just to
yeah,
hop throw this in there. When is the time for the rebuild? Because I'm looking at the standings right now. I'm looking at both sides. I mean, the rebuild's been working. Only teams that haven't rebuilt well are probably Charlotte, the Wizards, and the Pistons. So they're all in the West. They're all in the East. The Raptors are about to rebuild, but every team is rebuilt so well except for those teams. And is it time for the Nets to just throw everything away, just go
yes,
all in and drafting right? You think so?
yeah. I mean, it shows that they don't
Who's the
work.
first piece they trade then? Who's the first piece they
Cal
trade?
Bridges.
Wow, you think he should be traded already?
He should have been traded earlier in the year. We talked
Hmm,
about this. Remember when
I
you got
remember.
upset in me for my Miles Talk Sports take about how they should have traded Mikal Bridges. The Rockets were giving up Jalen Green and 3 first round picks. There are three first
Yeah,
round picks they traded away for Harden and Jalen Green, who's a dominant player. And you're just gonna say no?
yeah, that is true. That is
Like,
true.
that's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I would have maybe try. I mean, if they're offering 3 first round picks as their like first offer, they're gonna trade away a lot more than that because they really want Mikal Bridges. If you can get that fourth, then even get like another, dominant player, you can make some moves here. I just don't know what they're doing right now because they don't know what they're doing with Cam Thomas either. They're just like letting him play well and then like not playing him.
Hmm.
They're just kind of wasting his energy and his time. And oh, Cam's so young, he'll learn. Like, no, Cam's like 4 years in the league now. Like, we got to give
Hmm.
him a starting role. We got to give him a starting position. We got to put him in those spots. So
Yeah,
until they figure
I
it
think
out,
you're right.
yeah. And Nets fans, the like three of us that there are, it's frustrating because you see what's going on in New York and MSG, and they're dominating. They're playing. They're not even the best. I
Well,
Nets on paper are a better team than the New York Knicks, but they just have so much chemistry with the Knicks. They know how to play with each other. They have the right guys making the right plays, and they win games.
yeah.
Like,
So let's talk about that. Yeah, real quick. Let's talk about that. Yeah, I'm
I
looking at
love
the
the
West
Knicks,
standings.
man. I mean, as much as
Yeah,
I'm a Nets fan, I think the Knicks have a sneaky, sneaky chance of making some big noise
no,
in the playoffs.
no. This is what I'm gonna say.
I know
Okay,
they
I'm
lost
looking at this.
Randall, but
There out of the 10 teams that are competing for a playoff spot in a championship, there is one, two, three, maybe four teams that are not competing for a championship right now. And that
mm,
is the Knicks,
yeah,
the Bulls, the Hawks, and you can argue the 76ers. Those teams are not going to win the East. That's guaranteed. You guys can argue with me all you want, but it's the facts. Like the East, as you said, you called it the best. The East is so good this year, and
yeah.
it's led by teams like the Celtics, who are the Dodgers of the NBA. Super team. We'll talk about them later, but amazing team. Bucks are playing amazing this year. And the rebuild team itself, the Orlando Magic, looks phenomenal. They look like
Orlando
a team
Magic.
of veterans.
Oh,
The TikTok is amazing, and that team is so good. That team drafted perfectly. Remember, Jalen Suggs was a complicated pick. Bringing in Markelle Fultz was complicated. They lost Bobo, but this team has really played
I'm
well.
about
Franz Wagner has been amazing. Paolo Banchero has been phenomenal. Cole Anthony's been amazing. Mo Wagner's had a really solid year, honestly. Anthony Black's been good. Jed Howard really hasn't been there. Caleb Houston hasn't been there, but the Magic are really, really good, and they're honestly competing for a title right now. You want
They
to
have a
hop in
lot
real
of
quick
they have
before
a
I keep
lot of
going?
magic down there. Here are the teams that realistically I think could win the championship this year. You ready?
Let's hear it. Mhm.
Celtics, Bucks, Knicks, Heat.
No,
So here's what Celtics, obviously, we haven't talked about the Celtics yet. And going to school in Massachusetts and not really being a huge fan of the Celtics is not the best duo you want to be with because half of my teammates and the cross country guys, they absolutely adore the Celtics. The only thing they talk about in their life is the Celtics and how good they are, and they won't shut up about it. Oh, this is the year. I'm like, Jason Tatum's going to sell. But I think that's what's going to happen again. But let's be honest here. The Celtics team, if they don't win the Eastern Conference, it's going to be a total failure. They're
I
14
agree with you, but
games
think
left.
about this. You said Jason Tatum sells again. Think about how good that team is, where like
Right.
they're trying to figure out if Jalen Brown's like if J I'm not Jalen Brown, if Devin White's gonna start or not. Drew Holiday is probably one of the best guard like defenders who's a guard in the
He
league.
is the best. He is the best point guard
Yeah.
defensive player in the league.
I think Al Horford's still on that team. Al Horford's a great sixth man. Porzingis has a perfect role on the Celtics. He's been phenomenal. Jason Tatum at his peak is an MVP level player. So he'll give you good playoff games. Jalen Brown, I can't really talk a lot about him. Um He's a good player, I'll say that. Devin White's proven he's very good in the playoffs. I really like Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard's really proved himself in the NBA. That team is good, dude. That team is a team to beat in the East. I don't know how you're saying Tatum's gonna sell because that team is 7 or 8 legitimate guys who will start in any NBA team. So I think that take was bold, but that take is wrong. There's a couple of teams that could beat them, and the next team is the Bucks because the Bucks are just phenomenal.
Knicks. Knicks are going to beat them. Like if any team is going to beat them, it's the Knicks.
Without Julius Randle, there's no chance.
Yes.
You
Yes.
can't.
Julius
The
Randle.
Knicks can only
They
beat
play
the
better
Knicks
without
can't beat
Julius
the top
Randle.
two teams. The Knicks can't beat the top two teams. That's the problem. That's the best part of the NBA playoffs, where it's like I like the one game playoff in a lot of sports, but in baseball. It's an every game thing, so it's different. But in basketball, you have to have your A game every single minute you're on the court, and the Knicks can't compete with a team like the Bucks or the Celtics, where like, who's gonna guard Giannis? Yeah, Dame's gonna get guarded, but who's gonna guard Giannis? Who's gonna guard Brooke Lopez? Who's gonna guard that team? That team is gross. And for that team, really, like they didn't look amazing to
Milwaukee
start the
is the
year.
problem, though. There's the problem, though. They're coached by Doc Rivers. There's drama everywhere. There's drama everywhere on that team. They fired their head coach halfway through the season. Like, there's that doesn't lead to championship level basketball. I'm sorry. It
I
doesn't.
agree with you, 100%. I agree with 100%. But they're playing
Right.
through it. That team is not amazing. They're not amazing. But for the fact that they fired their coach and have had such a bad stint after that, the fact that they're about to win 50 games this year should tell you how good that team is.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think the thing about the Bucks that concerns me is they're streaky. They had a huge streak in late February into March. The Timberwolves, the Sixers, Charlotte, Chicago, LA, Clippers. But recently they lost three. They lost five out of the last six. Lost Lakers, lost against the Pelicans. They beat the Hawks, lose to the Wizards, lose to the Memphis Grizzlies, and lose to the Raptors. Right as of right now, they're playing the Knicks and winning, which isn't great for my take here. But I still just find more comfort with Jalen Brunson and the Knicks and the way they're coached and the way they're performing because I just don't feel it with Milwaukee. I just don't think they have the right pieces on for this season.
Okay, so then let's talk about the team that the Knicks beat last year in the playoff, Cleveland. Do you have no faith in
No
how
faith in
good that
Cleveland. No
Cleveland team
faith in
can be?
Cleveland. No faith in Cleveland.
Cleveland, what is going on? What is this slander? Cleveland is a really good team. I think Darius Garland has led this team better than Colin Sexton would have. And I mean, they still have Evan Mobley, who's amazing. You know they have the Brow, who's also phenomenal. They have Karis LeVert, who you also know is great, and he just coming off the bench. That team is really, really good. They have no Laurie Markkanen's on the traded him. CD Osman, I'm thinking of. CD Osman's had a really good year. Nick Staus has had a very good year. That Cleveland team is that's a sleeper team. Not maybe not sleeper because they're in the playoff as a 5 seed, but that team is good. That team is real good.
Team is fantastic. Not as fantastic as I think you're putting it out there. I don't. I just feel like they sell the big moments. They're not mentally, physically prepared. Literally said the lights were too big last season. Like you can't do that. And I know I'm going off of emotion here rather than stats and headlines, but I mean they're still they're fifth place for a reason. I think Indiana is a much better team than they are. I think the Knicks are better. I think the Heat are better. I think they're better than the Sixers, but you know,
Really?
the Cleveland's better than the Sixers? Yes.
I mean, even with Joel Embiid back, you're taking that stance.
Yes. So wait. So you're talking about how the Cleveland Cavaliers are
I don't like the Sixers, but I'm used to having so many people be like, Sixers are always ready, they're always ready. I don't know faith in the Sixers at all. I have less faith in them than I do the Pistons. The Sixers are not a playoff team. They have proved that with better teams. They had a team of Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and they lost. I have
JJ
no
Redick.
faith in this Sixers team.
JJ Redick. Yeah, the Sixers, I'm not saying they have a chance, but I'm just saying I do think they're better than Cleveland. No, yes. I think Cleveland's better. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not saying Cleveland's the best. Like, that's the thing about basketball. These basketball teams is that's different from other sports and other, like March Madness, like a bunch of these teams went really far, but in the NBA, these are the teams that are going to win. These are the teams that I think have a realistic shot of winning the NBA finals. Celtics, Bucks, Knicks, Nuggets, Thunder, Clippers. That's it. Maybe the Suns.
You're
That's like
sleeping on
only
teams,
like only
bro.
like
Not even like
seven teams.
you're gonna throw the Knicks in over a team like Miami or Indiana.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe not Miami, but definitely over Indiana. Yes.
I agree. I agree with the Indiana take. They're still a very young team. I like that team in Indiana though.
Yeah.
Halliburton's done a great job leading that team. I
Oscar
mean, Miles
Siakam is
Turner's
playing
been
well.
great.
Yeah.
Pascal Siakam, oh my God, that was a great trade for them. Super smart. Um,
I think the
they've played really well
Spurs have a
this year.
real shot this year. No, I'm just kidding. Pistons.
About to say, you're about to start me getting tweaked, but move on to the Heat. I think you're talking about the Heat is very good. I think that Jimmy Butler in the playoffs is a different Jimmy Butler than we see in the regular season. So I mean, I think the Heat are going to be a great team for years to come. Jamie Hawkins Jr. proved to be a great first round pick. They still have Bam Adebayo, who sadly hit his third three of the year against the Pistons a while ago and won, but still have Kevin Love, still have Tyler Hero, still have Duncan Robinson. That team is really good. That team is very, very good. A lot of depth, a lot of really talented guys in that roster. So, I mean, out of any team to make a run, it's going to be them. Not the Knicks. The Knicks are not better than Miami. That's just a fact. The
Hmm.
record will say one thing, but Jalen Brunson's good. I'm taking playoff Jimmy every time.
Definitely. Something about Jimmy Butler, man. He's just a dog. He just gets in the paint. He does the work. He takes the good shots. He talks his shit. He just does a really good job of, getting out there, doing his thing, humiliating people, going viral again. Like it's gonna happen. You know damn well it's gonna happen. I'm telling you who they're gonna beat. They're gonna beat either Orlando or Milwaukee.
I agree with that. I think
I
that,
think there's a real chance that they're going to go all the way
yeah,
to the finals. Maybe they're not going to win again, or maybe they'll make it to the Eastern Conference final. But they're going to definitely make themselves heard. They're going to make themselves feel known. This is what they do every single year.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to think who I can think about the East and West. I think that out of the West, it's going to be the Clippers or the Nuggets, and out of the East, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Miami versus Boston again. That's
Yeah.
looking really realistic. And I mean, this is the year where I don't know if Boston's gonna win or if Miami's gonna win. I think that my favorite finals this year prediction will be Clippers versus Boston. That'd be a really good finals matchup
Be a
of guys who really want to win.
I would love to see that. Because it's like again a team that both teams really need a championship. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Like
both teams have guys,
Clippers, I would
barely
say
any
more
guys who won
so,
a
but the
championship.
Celtics definitely want to. They're definitely are tired of losing.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, for that historic franchise, it's embarrassing they haven't won in, like what? It's been 10 years, 15. It's been a while.
it's been
It's like the Yankees,
almost
just
15
a
years.
historic franchise hasn't won in a while.
Yeah, and both the Yankees and the Celtics are really good, and they're in first place, and they're gonna be favorites to win the championship. So
Whatever,
he's bringing in baseball slander in the basketball episode. It's crazy.
whatever, whatever. I also wanted to let you know something that I thought was really interesting. This is on NBA, but a little over a bit. I want your opinion on this. So I was doing some background on this, and I Googled NBA news today, and the first 45 articles that I found were about Bronny James. I think that's just an incredible thing of a guy who's an NBA prospect who's maybe at most real without knowing his dad's LeBron, he's realistically at most a mid second round pick, and that's a stretch. And
Not
this
even.
guy is,
Not
yeah,
even. Not even a
Exactly. And this
solid
guy is the
college
face of NBA
basketball
news.
player. He's an average college basketball player. But because
Mm.
LeBron James is his father, and because a team realizes the meaning of Ronnie and having that story and having that press and having that headline, let's say, I don't know, the Charlotte Hornets go out and
Let's say
draft.
the Nets. Let's say the Nets get a middle
Oh my
first round
God,
pick, and
don't
they're
do that
just
to
like,
me.
well, I'm serious. That's really. I don't think Bronny's going to be a top 10 player. He's probably not a
Oh
lottery pick
no, he's
because
not
lottery
gonna.
picks are teams that really need guys. But from 15 to 30, if the Nets are like at pick number 17, do you just take him and hope LeBron
Nets don't
comes to
even have their first
Brooklyn?
round pick this year, but real like let's say they do. Um,
Never mind. But
yeah,
continue. Let's say they did. Let's say they did. What would you say
I would
if
be
they
annoyed.
drafted
This is
Bronny
the
pick number
point.
17?
I think if it's a second round pick, it's somewhat okay and somewhat acceptable, but I don't think it's acceptable to draft a guy like Bronny in the first round if you really don't. I mean, if the
Even
Lakers
if you get
wanted to,
LeBron with it too?
like if the Lakers won the championship and then drafted Bronny, I'd be like, okay, sure, whatever. But like other than that, they don't really need that kind of action. They don't need that kind of player because it's been a disappointing draft class. I heard there was something I saw, it was like quote unquote like some of the NBA like GMs, they basically came together and said this draft class is like a
Yeah,
joke.
this year and last year have been a little underwhelming, honestly. Like, I
Wembanyama's
don't
been
even know who the rookie of the year is this year. There really hasn't been anyone like super
Wembanyama.
special.
Wembanyama.
Oh, yeah, I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm taking Chet though. Chet is
What?
definitely gonna be better.
What? Are you
Dude,
crazy?
Chet is like putting up the same numbers as Wembanyama, and he's like the fourth player. Like he's like the fourth man on that team. Like think about how good that is. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
but
actually let's talk about our NBA award predictions. Because you're gonna say Wembanyama for Rookie of the Year. I'm gonna say
yeah.
Chet. What about for Defensive Player of the Year?
Drew Holiday?
I'm gonna say Wembanyama. I think he's had
Yeah.
a phenomenal year. He's been a really good defensive player this year. That's what
I,
I'm gonna take.
I think that's good. What's some of the other
Yeah,
ones?
can't even
Offensive player of
think.
the year, is that even a thing?
No, it's MVP. Straight to
Um,
MVP. There's most
MVP.
improved. Most
Most
improved, I
improved
think.
player. Rudy Gobert.
I don't even know. I might even say Paolo. I think Paolo has been great. Honestly, I think Tyrese Halliburton might win most improved because he's solidified himself as a superstar this year.
Maybe.
Maybe Anthony Edwards. Trying to think. But MVP, I really don't know. MVP this year is let me go. Let me see who's top three in MVP voting.
I guess Jokic could always be an MVP. We all
Oh
know that.
my God, he probably is gonna win MVP, honestly. He has been so consistent every year.
Tatum. You think
MVP
Tatum could win
odds.
MVP?
Let's see. Ooh.
I don't
Tatum
know.
could be good. Let's see. Fox Sports. Okay, right now the top three. Ooh, I'm so stupid. The top three right now are Jokic, Luka, and Shea. I think that it's going to be Jokic, but I would love to see Shea or Luka get that MVP, their first ever MVP. That'd
Right.
be amazing to see, and those guys deserve it.
I think Luca has a real possibility as well. I think Jokic is probably going to win it. I think he should win it. It would be fun to see Tatum though win it. I think it would be fun to see Shea win it. I think Shea would be a second choice in my opinion. I think Shea is a great scorer, gets a lot of buckets, and just done wonderfuls for the Oklahoma City Thunder, making a real name
Yeah.
for himself.
And I mean, I agree. I think Luka and Shea both win an MVP in their careers. They're both two franchise players who probably won't leave their team unless like they're on some Damian Lillard timing and really have to get out. Those guys are both phenomenal players, phenomenal all around scorers, facilitators. Those guys are probably some of the best in the NBA. Those guys are honestly the best in the NBA. So it's gonna be a fun playoff.
It's going to be a fun playoff. I think as we wrap up, I think I want to hear one last thing, and that is your favorite to win the championship this year.
Dude, I hate you for that. I mean, I really don't know. It's gonna be a tough year. I'm gonna say because I've wanted them to win for a while. I'm gonna say Miami. I have trust in Miami. That team is good. That team has given me trust in the past, and they have every year because they draft so well that most teams can't give me. So Miami is really good. They have depth. They have young talent. They have playoff experience, and they have Jimmy Butler. That's all they need to win a championship. Give me Jimmy, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Kevin Love, Bam Adebayo, Jamie Jaquez. That team is so good.
Yeah.
End of story.
I
Who do you
I
have?
would give it to the Boston Celtics. I think they deserve it. This is the team that, is on paper the best team the most qualified team, the most dominant team. At home, they've lost 3 games and they're clinched home. Their home, what's it called? Home court advantage throughout the entire playoffs. No matter what happens, they're going to be hosting a playoff series. They've only lost 3 games at home, and again, one of them was to the Nuggets. I understand that, but when the Celtics, when they're playing bad, are still playing better than most teams. When the Celtics are underperforming, that's like when the Nets are performing, or when even the Clippers or even the Cavs are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm,
So it's really, if the Celtics play well and they want it the most, they're going to win it. There's no shot anyone else's.
I agree with that. That's very fair statement.
So that wraps up episode numero 11, 10 plus 1. And we will see you next time on 718 Sports.